So what we are going to do... Alright, so what we're going to do is I am going to show you the current item builds, in my opinion, on Bel'Veth, okay? So, for starting items, I always go Blue Smite. Never anything else, I always go Blue Smite. I just think it's the best. It gives you like... It's literally more defensive than the Green Smite in a way, because you can outrun anyone in the jungle. And it's also the most aggressive Smite, because you can outrun anyone in the jungle. So it's good for late for ganks. You go for a bush, you get so much speed that you just power through everything. Blue Smite always, in my opinion. Usually by a pot, you go a ward or a sweeper, depending on what you're planning to do. Alright, so this is starting items, right? Alright, so any questions on this? This is the starting items, never anything else in my opinion. You obviously can go Green Smite and then you would also go Overheal if you like that playstyle. I don't, I'm sure I can add it here, but I always go Blue Smite. In my opinion, always Blue Smite. You can go Green Smite. I would recommend going with it with Overheal instead of Triumph in that way, and then you play around it so you have a huge shield coming out in before any fight then, right? First item, always Kraken, never anything else, always Kraken. If you're so far behind that you feel like Kraken is bad, then the game is lost anyways. In my opinion, you always go Kraken first. If you're so far behind that Kraken feels bad, then it's lost anyways. Yes, I'm gonna put this on YouTube, Robson. The first item, always Kraken. Always, 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 never anything else, always Kraken. And then I'm gonna show you how a standard build would look like the standard, probably best build would look like. And this is like, it's standard mixed damage, they have some AP, some AD, right? So you go Kraken into a Death Stance, into a Terminus, into situational items, obviously. What it would usually look like is maybe you get a Wit's End because they still have some AP damage, right? And this gets tenacity. It's just overall a good item, right? And then you might end it up with a Yak Shoe. It's probably my go-to last item if I'm just if it's like a nice mixed damage game where I just feel like this is the best, right? So standard build, you'd end up with a Yak Shoe. Maybe if you're like super steamrolling the game, you'd end up with a Guardian Angel instead of a Yak Shoe. You just, since you're almost never dying, the time that you die you ever respawn and you can kill them again. Maybe it's better, right? And also, like, if you don't need a Wit's End, maybe you just fit a Bork here instead. Possible. All depends, right? I mean, if you're up against a full... This is the standard build. I'm not gonna complicate it. Standard build. And then I'm gonna do another standard build, but they have a bit more AP than AD and maybe a Fed AP, right? So standard, little more AP heavy. Just a little more. It's still mixed damage, a little bit more AP focused. Then I'll go a Wit's End second, into a Terminus, into a Death Stance. Now I need to also say that this depends, right? Because if they have a little bit more AP heavy, but they still have a lot of burst, then you kind of have to go that to avoid getting bursted, right? Because this helps with burst. It keeps you alive for the duration you need, and then like everything this item does goes along with the kit of Bel'Veth. You can mitigate some of the like damage over time by Death Stance with your E. You can reset the damage of the 30% of the damage taken over time here by getting a kill, right? And you can also jump in your ult, you get a heal from Death Stance, you get a heal from your ult. It's a really, really good item for both snowballing and defensive. So this depends, right? If they have a lot of burst, maybe you have to go Death Stance before Terminus. But right now, Terminus is really good, so if you can build Terminus as third item, you will snowball hard, right? So this depends, okay? But we'd say the standard looks like this. And same here, you might end up with a Yak Shoe, might end up with a Bork, you might end up with Guardians. If they have like some very crit heavy champ that is rolling on your team, you might need a Random's Omen. So it all depends, right? You can never, there is never really one build goes for everything always, right? You always have to do some situational. Say the first two is the core, right? This is versus a little bit more AP heavy, this is versus the standard mixed damage, a little bit more AD heavy. and you go accordingly afterwards, right? If you need to be more tanky here, you feel like you're dying to magic damage, same here, you have to get Withstand first maybe. So just like, don't blindly build this all the time, you have to fit what you need. Like, if your problem is you're not killing them fast enough, and this is probably better. If your problem is you're dying way too fast, then maybe you have to do this. And this maybe even, right? Because you're dying too much, and if you're dying too fast, then you won't have time to do damage anyway, so why build more damage if you're dead? You don't deal damage when you're dead. But for the build sake, we're just gonna keep it as this, because this is like standard. But as I said, build accordingly to your game. It might differ. I will also make like, this is versus a very AP heavy. Like, they have a lot of AP. You might go this, because you still want the snowball, right? And then you get like a Rookern here. After this, you go accordingly, right? You go this, maybe they have some AP frontline or whatever that you need to deal with, because your job might be to deal with frontline, then maybe you fit a Bork here. If not, maybe you fit the Terminus here. Or maybe you need to survive even more, you put a Jackshu in after this. Any AP champ should never be able to kill you. Even after these 3 items, no AP champion should ever be able to kill you. But this, and maybe even like, I mean, Depth Stance even into a full AP combo, I'd say, is still good. Because of that, it fits so well with Bel'Veth. It works so well with Bel'Veth, so this might still be the best versus AP. But maybe you go for a Rook and third item here, and then, as I said, maybe you need a Terminus, maybe you need a Bork. It all depends, right? We're just gonna keep this as a standard. Maybe we do like this, or maybe we do like this. I don't know what's the best. We do like this. We say like this. Very AP heavy, right? We go with this. And then we're gonna make the opposite as well. As I said, Kraken is always first, so I will always it's always the first item, right? AD heavy, maybe lot of crit. Right? Maybe a lot of crit. You go this, you go Depth Stance, you maybe go straight into an Omen here, right? And if they don't have a lot of crit, this also depends, right? This is good, it gives you both health and armor, and reduces critical strike damage. But if they have 0 crit, it's more like percentage damage, still AD damage, kind of. Then you might want a Frozen Heart here instead, or even an Iceborne Gauntlet, right? Iceborne is also good. It's both very good against AD comps, and it also gives you a little bit more damage, plus it slows, so it's actually a really good item to consider, right? But what I probably would build most of the time would probably look like this, because most of the time it means that they have maybe a Yasuo Joan, Yasuo Jinx, Yasuo Draven, anything really with high AD, like, so versus high AD you might go something like that. You might even actually go like a Iceborne, like maybe like this, maybe. And maybe you go like a Terminus here somewhere, or a Bork. Maybe you go with a Bork, depending on like if they have any huge frontliners. But just like for what I probably would build most of the time, actually even a Guardian Angel would probably be really good, because you get both armor and damage from it. So this is like in case you're actually like snowballing a bit, right? Otherwise, this would probably be a good versus a lot of crit AD. So keep that in mind. And then I'm gonna show you the build that I build the most of the time. It's the most fun build, and I call it the Ego build. So the Ego build is Ghostblade, Kraken into Ghostblade. This is the like Ego core. If you wanna go, I'm gonna keep it as my Ego build. I'm gonna call it Lysi Ego build, because this is my Ego build, because I still like to be a bit survivable, if that makes sense. So I go a Kraken into Ghostblade into a Depth Stance most of the time, right? But it can be a Withstand, as I said, depending on what damage they have. Do they have a lot of AP? I might go Withstand here. Have a lot of AD, which usually is the case. I usually go Depth Stance. Depth Stance works so good with Bel'Veth in my opinion, so I usually go Depth Stance, and then maybe I go into a Withstand because it might have a lot of AP, or I might go into a Terminus, or I might go into a Bork. It all depends, right? See these two as the core, then you build accordingly. But Depth Stance is probably 80% of the time. If not, it's probably a Withstand into a Depth Stance. Last item might vary. Maybe you feel like you're dying too quick, then you get a Jackshu. If you feel like they have strong Then if they have like strong frontliners, you might need a Bork, right? Because it deals current for self-health damage, so it's always good. Plus it's slow, then gives you lifesteal. It's a really good item on Bel'Veth. But yeah, it depends. Like, you mix these, I'd say. These are probably the items that you mix around with. But just for simplicity's sake, say it will look something like this, maybe. So you will deal huge damage on your 2-item spike. And you will keep on dealing huge damage throughout the game, right? And still be very survivable with this build. Then we have like the, I'll call it the super ego build, the ultra ego, ultra ego build. This is like if you're literally playing for fun and you just want to absolutely one-shot people, then you'll go this Kraken Ghostblade LDR into a Bloodthirster. And then I don't know what you'll finish it off with. Maybe a Death Stance if you want to survive a little bit better, or if you want to deal fucking infinite damage, you go for an Infinity Edge last item here, and you go like kind of a crit build, right? You'll have 80% crit, some lethality, and yeah. It's just it's like, I don't know, this build you will one-shot anyone. This is the biggest snowballing build on Bel'Veth you can build, but it's obviously risky because it's glass cannon, right? You have no survivability with this. But at the point where you can build this, you're probably like 2 items above everyone else, even though the items are expensive. The time you will choose to build this, you are so far ahead of everyone that it kind of doesn't even, like, as soon as they see you, they're dead. But if you play this, you have to play like some type of assassin, like, right? I usually stick to this build because I'm still like, I'm playing to win. And with this build you deal insane damage on your 2-item spike, and at your 3-item spike you actually become a bit harder to kill. And the longer the game goes, you kind of just outscale everyone. So I like the normal ego build, but you have this ultra ego build, it would look something like this. What you're probably missing here is like, where is Stridebreaker? And I'm gonna tell you that I personally don't think Stridebreaker is a good item on Bel'Veth. I mean, it's obviously a good item, right? But the only time I would ever consider it is that I feel like I'm getting kited, right? So when I feel like I'm getting kited, I might go a Stridebreaker second because they have a lot of kite people, like things that just kills me without me ever being able to stick on them, right? So if I need to be able to stick on the champions I'm versing, maybe I go Stridebreaker second, maybe I go Stridebreaker third, right? But say, play with the thought, I go with the Stridebreaker build that everybody builds, then I'll probably go Death Stance third, or a Wit's End. As I said, these 2 items depend. If you're more AP, you go Wit's End, more AD, you go Death Stance first. But you probably go Death Stance into a Wit's End, maybe you fit the Terminus here or there, or maybe you don't fit it at all, maybe you go a Jack Shoes, right? Maybe it looks like this. It depends. As I said, like, you'll watch Bel'Veth mostly like a 2-item core, and you build accordingly after that, right? The only time I would say you ever have like a standard build, it's these 3 builds, these 2 builds, which also depends on AD or AP, but the only thing you change here is these, Terminus always third, and the other after the other, right? But these are kind of the builds for Bel'Veth right now that I run. This I run the absolute least. I used to run it a lot, but then after like just playing her more, learning her more, I felt like the 2-item spike on the Kraken Stridebreaker feels so much worse than, say, Kraken Death Stance. I feel so much stronger, I feel tankier, I deal more damage. Everything feels better with a Death Stance, I don't know why. Same with Wit's End, Wit's End just feels better. Some games I have built Stridebreaker maybe 4th item. Like this maybe. Or after Terminus or something, right? Maybe just because I feel like I just need to lock them down a bit more. Because the thing that's good about Stridebreaker is you can jump on someone, press Stridebreaker, press your E, and yeah, they can't really run out of your E until it's already over and they're dead. So it's good when you're ahead, but I would say you don't spike as well. Say you're snowballing a game, I wouldn't buy Stridebreaker over Ghostblade. Ghostblade has the same effect, you will stick on people because you're so fast. Plus you roam around the map much faster, you deal insane damage, everything. Just Ghostblade is goated on Bel'Veth, but you have to play a little bit safer because you are squishy. The only thing that makes you survive sticky situations can be thanks to your blue smite being able to outrun them, and your E, of course. But E is getting nerfed next patch, so we'll see how she will feel, if she'll feel glass cannon or not. But I usually go this like the Lysi Ego build. This is my go-to build if I'm not griefing the early game. If I fall behind, I usually never go this build because it's like it's good, but it depends. Like if I'm just getting one shot over and over, why would I build even more squishy, right? Then I would need the depth stand so that I can actually do something. With Bel'Veth, so good to know. But these are the builds right now, in my opinion. It's obviously opinion based and everything is situational. This is just how the builds usually look like. But see it as a 2 or 3 item core. These I would say is a 3 item core. Rest of the builds are 2 item cores. You build whatever you need, right? So yeah. And if you want to see like what runes I run right now on Bel'Veth, it looks something like this right now. What you can go is, this is like the most snowbally build. And what you can run is you run boots and futures market, which is really nice. It's always nice to be able to build your item spikes before you actually for them. It's actually really nice. Or you go like, maybe like this, Cosmic Insight and boots. Make sure you go double adaptive 4 so you can actually just one-shot the Raptor camp level 1. It helps with that. And yeah, but most of the time I run this Relentless Hunter. You can definitely go like Eyeball Collection, Relentless Hunter, but since I go Ghostblade most of my game, this helps with even more lethality. And Relentless helps you move around the map a lot quicker. Sometimes you'll have like, with your true form passive that gives you out of combat movement speed, you have a Relentless Hunter stacked up. Without having tier 2s, you'll still have like 450 movement speed, so you're crazy fast with Relentless Hunter stacked up. So these are the runes I'm running currently.